The Can You Hear the Music theme from Oppenheimer absolutely blew me out of my chair in the theater this year. And instead of being able to enjoy it like everyone else, my mind successfully convinced me to do something stupid. To recreate it. But as Ludwig Göransson had a whole orchestra, well, can I do it out of a plant?
This whole process was eye-opening, fascinating, frustrating and teaching me a lot of lessons. However, I managed to create something I ended up being really proud of.
So yeah, let me show you how I went from this to that.
First of all, I needed to choose which plant I want to record.
This one, this one, this one, this one, and finally this one. This is actually looking pretty cool. I don't even know what this is.
After I choose the one, I needed to record it. So be prepared for some plant ASMR.
Is this depressing?
Yeah, I don't know what I expected, but obviously there's not much to work with.
So after recording these driving, innovative and beautiful sounds, it was time to design the instruments. Well, the score basically consists of 4 major sounds: violin, synth bass, these massive synth transitions, and a few additional synths that drive the whole dynamic forward. The question was, how on earth should I create these out of a plant recording?
I tried a few techniques creating some sounds out of these recordings, but the results were kind of strange.
I realized that I need a strong foundation, which I can just plug into a synth and from there create all these different sounds. And after some desperate tries to create a sawtooth wave out of these plant recordings, I finally came up with something I could work with.
So basically a sawtooth wave in sound design is a wave that has frequency components at every multiple of the root frequency. And this is how it sounds. This makes them harmonically very rich and diverse to create all kind of different sounds from it. So I realized if I can create some sort of harmonically rich sawtooth kind of thing, that would be a great starting point. But yeah, obviously FL Studio was not happy with that. I ended up doing the granular synthesis kind of manually, and I got this. Not really a sawtooth wave, but a starting point, right? But I figured out that I can use it very good as a wavetable, which means basically that the sound is split into small frames and the harmonic information of that frame is stored in new waveforms.
So I finally had my foundation from which I could design all my instruments, which felt like an endless tweaking and experimenting, trying to leverage one wavetable to the fullest.
So yeah, it was time to design the violin. One of the things I did here is frequency modulation, which shifts the pitch of the plant wave according to another wave, introducing more texture to the sound. And I have to confess that I applied some amplitude randomization, but as the plant wave is still the basis of all things, I would consider this as acceptable. It cost me a lot of time to try these things out, and it was a roller coaster of emotions trying to make it sound just a little like a violin.
So after this painful violin that still does not sound like a real violin, it was to my surprise very easy to create the lead synth transition or whatever this thing is called.
Yeah, the reason for that is probably that I used the same starting point as for the violin, with some other effects on it and some longer attack and release, making it slowly fading in and out. And that was pretty much it. All I needed to do is to give it a final touch, adding some pitch automations. And here we go. I'm actually pretty happy how the sound turned out.
For the other sounds I basically used the same structure, starting from the violin bass and then adjusting the sound design to get the following stuff. The chopped synth, which has a short attack and decay and uses the exact plant recording wave without amplitude randomization and some more distortion and compression. The synth plug that is relatively similar to the violin, just with a very short attack and decay with some more compression, a phasing effect and automations with the only explanation that they just seem to work. And the bass, which is obviously pitched down a little and uses some things like frequency modulation and some more wave shaping. So as I had the sounds, it was time to put everything together, and can't be that hard, right? Boy was I naive. Well, I didn't take into account that Ludwig Göransson is a crazy genius.
Desperately I tried to figure out the tempo throughout the song that keeps switching and switching. I listened to the score over and over, tried to pick up the tempo switches, tried to grasp the structure, It just sounds so organically and unpredictable building up. Like an actual nuclear chain reaction, the synths that carry the whole dynamic forward and sound like the inevitable increasing power of the reaction, the violin getting faster and faster, sounding like all these neutrons bumping into atoms causing the chain reaction to speed up.
But after all, it seemed random.
Going into fall, I basically lost all my motivation for the project. I just could not figure out what was going on, so hey, what was even the point of all of this?
You know, I absolutely love challenging myself, and so after a few weeks I found myself again sitting on this project, this time swearing to myself to give it everything I have. But now I approach the structure randomly.
I widely combine tempo automations and note length variations to create basically a mess. But giving myself the freedom to not strictly follow the rules, if there are even ones, brought me back the joy of the recreation.
So whether there was structure or not, I literally didn't care. And slowly the score came together more and more.
I figured out the chord shapes, which also seemed to follow on each other, completely random. I tried out new elements like a pad that I removed in the second half because it made things too crowded. I added a second chop bass in the last half of the build-up. I automated a lot, like the pitch of the lead transitions, overdrive over the chord chops to make them sound like an engine running faster and faster.
Well, I basically studied that score to the core, and the more I studied it, the more I recognized its genius and how fucking insane it actually is.
I fixed some chord shapes, pitches of the lead transitions, refined the sound design, removed some effects, and a lot of more stuff.
Slowly from day to day it sounded better and better, and at one point I even forgot that I'm currently working with sounds recorded out of a plant.
Strangely, I found myself forced to think more creatively working with these plant recordings.
Well, today we have access to millions of sounds and opportunities to create them, and I feel like this huge amount of opportunities sometimes prevents me to get to the bottom to things and to explore everything that is hidden.
There are all these thoughts popping up in my head like, I need that synth to create something, I need this sample pack, I need this keyboard. Yes, they are probably important, but the most important thing is imagination.
It requires way more creativity and imagination to create music with less amount of resources. But this creativity can lead you to completely different and awesome places that you would never find otherwise.
So maybe just sometimes reducing the amount of possibilities helps you to spark your creativity, to make the best out of what you have, and teaches you a lot of new things.
So after days of fixing things, I didn't know what to do anymore, and so I think I finished it. Obviously, it's not the same by any means, but come on, this shit is made of a plant, so please forgive me on that. And I don't know what to say anymore, here's the Oppenheimer theme completely made out of a plant.